If I had to start from scratch, these are the apps I'd install first. My name is Tariq and I'm a startup engineer. And today I want to share with you what my most used tools are on a day-to-day basis. These are in no particular order. I want to start with a category of tools, which JetBrains IDEs. So if you don't know, JetBrains is a company that makes IDEs for specific languages. So they have an IDE for .NET called Rider. They have an IDE for Java called IntelliJ, and so on. What I really like about working with IDEs from JetBrains is they're all the same across all the different IDEs. So the shortcuts and stuff, I don't have to remember anything. It's all the same. So it's less friction for me to get something done. As someone coming from the Visual Studio and the Microsoft world, I've found Rider to be really easy to use, and I think it's more featured than Visual Studio. And I think IntelliJ is miles ahead of Eclipse, which is the open source alternative. The next tool I want to talk about is also from JetBrains. I know this is starting to sound like an ad from JetBrains, but it's not. It's just the tools are really good. This application is called DataGrip, and it's all about viewing databases and manipulating databases. So if you've used tools like SQL Server Management Studio or dbeaver or Table Plus before, this is JetBrains' alternative to that. The next tool I want to talk about is HTTP Toolkit. This tool is used for inspecting network traffic like you would do on Chrome DevTools. I mainly use this for capturing network data from mobile devices. So you can connect your Android device, for example, to your machine, turn on USB debugging. When you run HTTP Toolkit, it can intercept the traffic from your device. So if you're debugging something and there's like an error on the application and the error is not very useful, you can look into the network traffic and see what exactly failed, what request failed, and then it makes debugging so much easier. The reason I like HTTP Toolkit is because it was way easier to set up than tools like Charles Proxy or whatever else is in that space. I tried to set up multiple things and went through multiple articles online, but I couldn't get things to work and I didn't have much time to sink into it. So I settled with HTTP Toolkit. The next tool I want to talk about is Postman. So this is a very popular tool for software testers, developers alike. It basically gives you all the necessary features in order to test and document APIs. So it has a feature called collections where you can save all your endpoints for a certain API. It has a feature called environment variables, so you can have different environment variables for different environments or different APIs. So it's a really powerful tool and it has everything you would need for API testing. My only gripe with it at the moment is if you have too many tabs open, it slows down. The next tool I want to talk about is Visual Studio Code. This is like my general purpose text editor. If I want to compare text files or format a JSON response, this is my go-to. Moving on to something less code related, the next tool I want to talk about is Figma. If you haven't used Figma, it's an absolute powerhouse when it comes to UI design and UX design. You can create the screens in there and you can also have the logic in there, so you can actually demo the application to a developer without actually building it out fully. So it's really good in that aspect. It's also really handy for small graphic design jobs, whether it be, resizing an icon or changing the color of an icon. Moving on to some OS related tools I use. The first one I want to talk about is AltTab. Basically, AltTab is a Mac OS application that mimics what the key combination AltTab does in Windows. I haven't found Mac OS's window management to be very intuitive, so this is a very useful tool for me as a Windows immigrant. And continuing the theme of Windows immigrant tools, the next tool I want to talk about is called Maccy. It's basically a clipboard history tool. It keeps a history of your copied things in your clipboard. So if you copied something 5 copies ago, you can still go and access it. So that's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching my first YouTube video. I hope you liked it.